If the external nerve stimuli and the inner bodily stimuli are sufficiently intense to compel psychic attention, they represent, that is, if they result in dreaming at all and not in waking, a fixed point for dream formation, a nucleus in the dream material for which an appropriate wish fulfillment is sought, just as see about mediating ideas between two cycle dream stimuli and are sought. To this extent, it is true of a number of dreams that the somatic element dictates the dream content. In this extreme case, even a wish that is not actually present may be aroused for the purpose of the dream formation. If the external nerve stimuli and the inner bodily stimuli are sufficiently intense to compel psychic attention, they represent, that is, if they result in dreaming at all and not in waking, a fixed point for dream formation, a nucleus in the dream material for which an appropriate wish fulfillment is sought, just as mediating ideas between two physical dream stimuli are sought. To this extent, it is true of a number of dreams that the somatic elements dictate the dream content. In this extreme case, even a wish that is not actually present may be aroused for the purpose of the dream formation. But the dream cannot do otherwise than represent a wish in some situation as fulfilled. It is, as it were, confronted with the task of discovering that what wish can be represented as fulfilled by the given sensation. Even if this given material is of a painful or disagreeable character, yet it is not unserviceable for the purpose of dream formation. The psychic life has at its disposal even wishes whose fulfillment evokes displeasure, which seems a contradiction, but becomes perfectly intelligible if we take into account the presence of two sorts of psychic instance and the censorship that subsists between them. But the dream cannot do otherwise than represent a wish in some situation as fulfilled. It is, as it were, confronted with the task of discovering what wish can be represented as fulfilled by the given sensation, even if this given material is of a painful or disagreeable character, yet it is not unserviceable for the purpose of dream formation. The psychic life has at its disposal even wishes whose fulfillment evokes displeasure, which seems a contradiction, but becomes perfectly intelligible if we take into account the presence of two sorts of psychic instance and the censorship that subsists between them. but the dream cannot do otherwise than represent a wish in some situation as fulfilled. It is, as it were, confronted with the task of discovering what wish can be represented as fulfilled by the given sensation. If this, even if this given material is of a painful or disagreeable character, yet it is not unserviceable for the purpose of dream formation. The psychic life has at its disposal even wishes whose fulfillment evokes displeasure, which seems a contradiction, but becomes perfectly intelligible if we take into account the presence of two sorts of psychic instance and the censorship that subsists between them. In the psychic life, there exist, as we can see, represented wishes which belong to the first system and to whose fulfillment the second system is opposed. We do not mean this in a historic sense that such wishes have once existed and have subsequently been destroyed. The doctrine of repression, which we need in the study of psychoanalysis asserts that such repressed wishes still exist, but simultaneously with an inhibition which weighs them down. Language has hit upon the truth when it speaks of the suppression, or pushing under of such impulse. In the psychic life, there exist, as we have seen, repressed wishes which belong to the first system and to whose fulfillment the second system is opposed. We do not mean this in a historic sense that such wishes have once existed and have subsequently been destroyed. The doctrine of repression, which we need in the study of psychoanalysis, asserts that such repressed wishes still exist, but simultaneously with an inhibition which weighs them down. Languages have hit up the truth when it speaks of the suppression, or placing under of such impulse. The psychic mechanism which enables such suppressed wishes to force their way to realization is retained in being and in working order. The psychic mechanism which enables such suppressed wishes to force their way to realization is retained in being and in working order. But if it happens that such a suppressed wish is fulfilled, the vanquished inhibition of the second system is then expressed as discomfort, which is capable of And in order to conclude this argument, In order to conclude this argument, if sensations of disagreeable character which orientate from somatic sources are presented during sleep, this constellation is utilized by the dream activity to procure the fulfillment with more or less maintenance of the censorship of an otherwise suppressed wish. The psychic mechanism which enables such suppressed wishes to force their way to realization is retained in being and in working order. But if it happens that such a suppressed wish is fulfilled, the vanquished inhibition of the second system, which is capable of consciousness, is then expressed as discomfort. And in order to conclude this argument, if sensation of a disagreeable character which orientate from somatic sources are present during sleep, this constellation is utilized by the dream activity procure the fulfillment with more or less maintenance of censorship of an otherwise suppressed wish. The state of affairs makes possible a certain number of anxiety dreams, while others of these dream formations which are unfavorable to the wish theory exhibit a different mechanism. For the anxiety in dreams may of course be of psychoneurotic neurotic character originating in sexual excitation, in which case anxiety corresponds to repressed libido. Then this anxiety, like the whole anxiety dream, had the significance of a neurotic symptom, and we stand at the diving line where the wish fulfilling tendency of dream is frustrated. This state of affairs make possible a certain number of anxiety dreams, while others of these dreams information which are unfavorable to the wish theory exhibit a different mechanism. For the anxiety in dreams may of course be of a psychoneurotic character, originating in psychosexual excitation, in which case the anxiety corresponds to the repressed libido. Then this anxiety, like the whole anxiety dreams, had the significance of a neurotic symptom, and we stand at the diving line where the wish fulfill tendency of dream is frustrated. But in other anxiety dreams, the feeling of anxiety comes from somatic sources, as in the case of a person suffering from pulmonary or cardiac trouble with occasional difficulty in breathing, and then it is used to help such strongly suppressed wishes to attain fulfillment in dream. The dreaming of which from psychic motives would have resulted in the same release of anxiety. It is not difficult to reconcile these two apparent contradictory cases. When two psychic formations are effective inclination and a conceptual content are intimately connected. Either one being actually present will evoke the other, even in the dream. Now, the anxiety of somatic origin evokes the suppressed conceptual content. Now it is the released conceptual content accompanied by sexual, sexual,
Sexual.
sexual excitement, which causes the release of anxiety. But in other anxiety dreams, the feeling of anxiety comes from somatic sources, as in the case of persons suffering from pulmonary, pulmonary and cardiac trouble with occasional difficulty in breathing, and then it is used to help such strongly suppressed wishes to attain fulfillment in the dream, the dreaming of which from psychic motives would have resulted in the same release of anxiety. It is not difficult to reconcile these two apparently contradictory cases. When two psychic formations are effective inclination and conceptual content are intimately connected, either one being actually presented will evoke the other even in the dream. Now the anxiety of somatic origin evokes the surprised conceptual content. Now it is the released conceptual content accompanied by sexual excitement which causes the release of anxiety. In the one case, it may be said that a somatically determined effect is psychically interpreted. In the other case, all is of psychic origin, but the content which has been suppressed is easily replaced by a somatic interpretation which fits the anxiety. The difficulties which lies in the way of understanding all this have little to do with dreams. They are due to the fact that in discussing these points, we are touching upon the problems of the development of anxiety and of repression. In the one case, it may be said that a somatically determined effect is psychically interpreted. In other case, all is of psychic origin, but the content which has been suppressed is easily replaced by a somatic interpretation which fits the anxiety. The difficulties which lie in the way of understanding all this have little to do with dreams. They are due to the fact that in discussing these points, we are touching upon the problems of the development of anxiety and the repressions of those interpretations which are possible at all, only which are admitted. Those involved active interest, those requires a sleeper to wake. Those are acceptable to the dictionary censorship, sleep wish. According to the paragraph 4, which is not true, the dream cannot do more than represent a wish in some situation as fulfilled. The psychic life can dispose even wishes whose fulfillment evokes displeasure. The task of the dream is to discover what wish can be represented as fulfilled by the given sensation. What causes the release of anxiety, the anxiety of somatic organs, the suppressed conceptual content, the released conceptual content, accompanied by sensory excitement.
The material and sources of dreams.
dreams.
The correct interpretation of which the sleeping mind is perfectly capable would involve active interest and would require the sleeper to wake. Hence, of those interpretations which are possible at all, only such are admitted as are acceptable to the dictatorial censorship of the sleep wish. The logic of dream situations would run, for example, it is the nightingale and not the lark. For if it is the lark, love's night is at an end. From among the interpretations of the stimulus which are thus admissible, that one is selected which can secure the best connection with the wish impulses that are lying in wait in the mind. Thus, everything is definitely determined, and nothing is left to caprice. The misinterpretation is not an illusion, but, if you will, an excuse. Here again, as in substitution by displacement in the service of the dream censorship, we have an act of deflection of the normal psychic procedure. If the external nerve stimuli and the inner bodily stimuli are sufficiently intense to compel psychic attention, they represent, that is, if they result in dreaming at all and not in waking, a fixed point for dream formation, a nucleus in the dream material, for which an appropriate wish fulfillment is sought, just as mediating ideas between two psychical dream stimuli are sought. To this extent, it is true of a number of dreams that the somatic element dictates the dream content. In this extreme case, even a wish that is not actually present may be aroused for the purposes of dream formation. But the dream cannot do otherwise than represent a wish in some situation as fulfilled. It is, as it were, confronted with the task of discovering what wish can be represented as fulfilled by the given sensation. Even if this given material is of a painful or disagreeable character, yet it is not unserviceable for the purposes of dream formation. The psychic life has at its disposal even wishes whose fulfillment evokes displeasure, which seems a contradiction, but becomes perfectly intelligible if we take into account the presence of two sorts of psychic instants and the censorship that subsists between them. In the psychic life, there exist, as we have seen, repressed wishes, which belong to the first system, and to whose fulfillment the second system is opposed. We do not mean this in a historic sense, that such wishes have once existed and have subsequently been destroyed. The doctrine of repression, which we need in the study of psychoneuroses, asserts that such repressed wishes still exist, but simultaneously with an inhibition which weighs them down. Language has hit upon the truth when it speaks of the suppression, or pushing under of such impulses. The psychic mechanism which enables such suppressed wishes to force their way to realization is retained in being and in working order. But if it happens that such a suppressed wish is fulfilled, the vanquished inhibition of the second system, which is capable of consciousness, is then expressed as discomfort. And in order to conclude this argument, if sensations of a disagreeable character which originate from somatic sources are present during sleep, this constellation is utilized by the dream activity to procure the fulfillment, with more or less maintenance of the censorship, of an otherwise suppressed wish.
otherwise suppressed wish.
This state of affairs makes possible a certain number of anxiety dreams, while others of these dream formations which are unfavorable to the wish theory exhibit a different mechanism. For the anxiety in dreams may of course be of a psychoneurotic character, originating in psychosexual excitation, in which case the anxiety corresponds to repressed libido. Then this anxiety, like the whole anxiety dream, has the significance of a neurotic symptom, and we stand at the dividing line where the wish-fulfilling tendency of dreams is frustrated. But in other anxiety dreams, the feeling of anxiety comes from somatic sources, as in the case of persons suffering from pulmonary or cardiac trouble, with occasional difficulty in breathing. And then it is used to help such strongly suppressed wishes to attain fulfillment in a dream, the dreaming of which from psychic motives would have resulted in the same release of anxiety. It is not difficult to reconcile these two apparently contradictory cases. When two psychic formations, an affective inclination and a conceptual content, are intimately connected, either one being actually present will evoke the other, even in a dream. Now the anxiety of somatic origin evokes the suppressed conceptual content. Now it is the released conceptual content, accompanied by sexual excitement, which causes the release of anxiety. In the one case, it may be said that a somatically determined affect is psychically interpreted. In the other case, all is of psychic origin. But the content which has been suppressed is easily replaced by a somatic interpretation which fits the anxiety. The difficulties which lie in the way of understanding all this have little to do with dreams. They are due to the fact that in discussing these points we are touching upon the problems of the development of anxiety and of repression.
Repression.